this may come as a shock to you, right? This may come as a complete and utter shock to you. But there is an active push, an active, desire to push as much queerness into not just comics, but modern entertainment on the whole, whether you like it or not. It's not stopping. It's getting worse. And now we have some people that are in the comic book industry, and I use the comic book industry term loosely because it's gone straight into the crapper at this point, literally bragging about how they are getting no pushback whatsoever to continue adding as much queerness as possible and destroying these characters across the board. And they're just so very happy to keep doing it. But before I get into that, recently, Jadzia Axelrod, who is the writer for Hawkgirl, the new Hawkgirl that they put out, where I did a review for the first issue, where they did blatantly out there telling you that, Hawkgirl is going to go and become a lesbian, because by the second issue, she ended up in a gay bar, because that's what this entire story needs to be about. It's out there, and she was recently on this video talking about how, superheroes are queer, and Jadzia Axelrod is trans as the day is long, but that's what's going on. So I have the video of what happened in that so-called interview. So let's take a look at it right now.
Superheroes are a very queer kind of story, and that you have these characters who have these double lives, and one life is much more colorful and dynamic and exciting, but they also have to keep on this normal life. Most superheroes are in the closet, either literally in some cases, or in a more metaphorical way of like, I have to keep my secret identity. That's important. And so it's very relatable stuff to a queer reader, very relatable stuff to a trans reader. Bodies are frequently mutable in superhero comics, which is something I love. So like all of this stuff was already in there when I read them, whether it was intended or not. So to tell a story where all of this stuff is not just subtext, but literally what's going on.
Okay. So from looking at that interview, it immediately tells you exactly what's going on. You already have Jadzia Axelrod, she, her, or whatever the hell pronoun crap they want to do. Whoever it is whoever this Jadzia Axelrod was talking to, I can't even say whether this person is trans or whatever the other. They just look at, and they just kind of look the part. Let's just put it that way. But you begin to see the problem. Now, when one reads a comic book, it speaks to everybody. You may take things away from it. Okay, let's say, for instance, you were reading X-Men. X-Men would speak to you on different levels. If you were an outsider, if you were somebody who was constantly being picked on or bullied, X-Men kind of talk to you, because the mutants were literally hated for who they were, for what they were. They were hated for it, but they were still trying to do good, still saving lives. That's what they were doing. But it's one thing to take away something from a comic. It's another thing to interpret it in a way that you specifically want to be, and start to change it to mold that. If you're saying that, listen, according to you, superhero comics always had some underlying something in it, that's your business. You're free to believe whatever the hell you want. It's another thing when you come in and actively try to change it to fit what's in your mind and act like, well, this is how it's always been because I say so. That is where the problem starts, because you're not actually, what you're basically saying is that this comic was made specifically for me in this way, and I am changing it to fit what I believe it should be, not what everybody believes it should be, because, it's for everybody. People have their own interpretations. That's fine. But no, you're going in there and saying, this is specifically what I believe it was, and this is exactly how I am changing it to fit that narrative. And if you have a problem with that, well, then clearly you have a problem with everything else. That's how this works. That's how this whole thing works for them. So recently, there was this thing called FlameCon. Apparently, FlameCon is some kind of giant LGBTQ Comic Con type disaster or whatever the hell they want to call it. That's what it was. And again, as I've said, some of these so-called people who work not just in comics but in the entertainment industry went there and were literally bragging about how, they are queering the crap out of everything and literally nobody wants to stop them from doing it. Get into this article here from our Popfuls. Making comic universes queer through collaboration. Yeah, that's how you destroy everything, through collaboration. Yeah. Some of the top names in comics gathered on stage in a packed room at FlameCon this year for a panel entitled "What Make It Queer: Turning Mainstream Comic Universes Gay from Gotham to Galaxies Far, Far Away." So they're not even literally being subtle with it anymore. They are coming out and telling you they're making it queer, turning mainstream universes gay from Gotham to Galaxies Far, Far Away. So they literally have nothing stopping them anymore. So everybody who was out there saying that, oh, no, that's the reality, they are literally admitting this is what they're doing. Tim Drake Robin, man gay out of nowhere. And I don't want to hear no bisexual bullshit because we know he's never going to touch a woman again. No, this is what they want because they could make original characters and work with that. No, they would much rather just change existing characters to fit their own sick little narratives. That works for them. There we go. Moderated by writer, critic, and podcaster Anthony Oliveira, Young Avengers Paradise Lost, the panel explored how the panelists, all of whom are queer and or transgender, of course they are, and have worked extensively in mainstream comics, managed to get away with adding queer characters, plot lines, and themes into wildly popular fictional universes like Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. Yeah. The panel guests included writer Terry Blass from Rick and Morty, cover artist Sway, Marvel, DC, Image, writer Alyssa Wong, oh great, Star Wars, Dr. Afra, Deadpool, and writer, critic, podcaster Charlie Jane Anders, New Mutants, Lethal Legion. Of course, Charlie Jane Anders. They hired Charlie Jane Anders simply because he's transgender. That's it. Our opinions are correct. Perhaps surprisingly, a common thread throughout the panel was that despite the challenges presented by homophobia and transphobia, they reported little pushback in their efforts to queer beloved franchises, many of which existed for decades with little to no authentic queer or trans representation. So there was little to no pushback in their efforts because many of these companies are staffed by such morons who live on Twitter and believe that this is exactly what it is that they want. Take, for instance, the Bud Light thing. You understand me? The executive came out and she said that they had a V-bill and she said that, Bud Light isn't made for college, what a college frat, kind of thing, and it's a more sophisticated beer. Then she had to take her stuff and leave when people literally boycotted Bud Light because people don't want this shit. But they don't understand that they are listening to the 1%. You're talking here about little to no pushback in their efforts. Little to no pushback. Look at the sales. Look at the sales. Alyssa Wong's Star Wars Dr. Afra literally fell off. Nobody read that shit. Nobody. Charlie Jane Anders, literally everything Charlie Jane Anders was just garbage. Literal garbage. And you're talking about how there's little to no pushback. People are not buying this shit anymore. You're destroying these things. And then you think about it that if these people go and look to write an independent something on their own. It will not sell worth damn. It won't sell. Their only claim to fame is that, you know, they work for Marvel and DC and it's hop between the two. That's how they get paid, if they get paid at all. That's it. Absolute garbage. All of more of it. Alright, so this is what Alyssa Wong had to say. I think it really depends on who you're working for and with. I worked with teams where I felt like I had to slide things in under the radar and just hope that my very straight team didn't notice. But I've also worked with groups of people who are not only incredibly supportive, but are like, can we push it further? Every time I feel like I'm getting away with something and it's really exciting every single time. So you're literally coming out here saying that, you know, okay, you worked with teams before. I had straight people on it. And you had to kind of slip stuff in. But you've worked with other teams and people who all must be, you know, explosively queer. And they're telling you, you know what? Let's add even more. Let's put in even more in there. Let's adding to this. And when the sales crash and burn, it's everybody else's fault but your own. You know what you need, Miss Wong? You need good editors to look out to you very clearly and sit down and tell you, listen, this is crap, write something good or get out. Not to pet you and tell you, you know what? Okay, because of your sexuality, you must be allowed to queer up every freaking character possible. Yeah. After a smattering of applause, the added Dr. Afra has been incredibly bad. The sales were garbage. Nobody was reading that shit. It's Star Wars and I don't know how many straight people are in the cast at all. Lucasfilm has been so supportive when I write or even create queer or trans characters. Wong themselves is non-binary. Of course she is. Of course. I don't know. This is the thing I want you to know. Their entire personality and everything involving the characters that they create boil down to their sexuality because these people have nothing else for themselves at all. Nothing else. So he then jumps in to say, I'm really only a cover artist who uses he, they pronouns. Jesus Christ. Yeah. But I think the editors and the team that I have are very open and very supportive of what I do. In the way that I explore certain characters' masculinity or femininity, so he said. I don't know what editors you work with, but if it's Marvel, clearly they're just a bunch of morons because we see what's coming out of Marvel. Then Blas said, I just don't ask to laughs from the audience. I think there are like 3 that become so jokes in my Steven Universe run. And the team didn't say anything, so it got through. I would hope that if an editor were to approach me about writing something, they would know that I'm not going to write something that doesn't feel right to me. I'll come back to this part, listen to it very carefully. For something like Reptile, it's important for me to include queer and Mexican American representation in all my work. Not to soapbox, but for me, the most important issue is that the largest ethnic minority group in this country has representation. There are 50 million, I have to use the Latin people don't like, in this country. I just tell everyone that I'm putting that in the story and they don't push back. At least they haven't so far. How many times did you use me? This is the problem. You see, when you hear people say things like, you know, these people are writing comics for nobody. No, they're writing comics for somebody, writing comics for themselves. You're not writing comics to say like, listen, this is character A. Character A has been doing so let me write for character A. No, I'm writing for myself. And because my entire and because my entire identity revolves around my sexuality and pushing whatever race that I am down people's throat, and that's exactly what I must do. I mustn't write anything good. I mustn't write anything actually interesting or important. No. I'm just supposed to write some shit that you're supposed to just take to heart and say, well, okay, this is good enough. And if you and if any editor at all has any balls and pushes back against this, call them homophobes, transphobes, whatever the hell you want to call them. And then you just run with that. That's it. Because these people are writing comics for themselves alone, not for anybody else. Continue on. A great deal of praise was lavished upon Wong's Deadpool run, which marks the first time a queer writer has written a titular pansexual anti-hero, describing previous runs as having a sort of Bugs Bunny queerness. Anders proclaimed that she couldn't believe how queer the run has been so far. They're getting away with things I didn't know it was possible to get away with, she said. Yeah, so you're out there bragging about the whole, about Alyssa Wong's Daredevil run that nobody's reading, by the way. I think the last time I saw a comics chart, sales chart for it, they're not getting those anymore. That's why I saw one for it. I think it was close to, if not had already fallen out of the top 200. That's to tell you. You destroyed Dr. Aphra on Star Wars by just pushing a bunch of queerness. Because Alyssa Wong actually went out there and bragged about how she was doing that in Star Wars, and literally the sales just tanked. You're doing that now with Deadpool because you expect people to line up and say, hey, you know what? Deadpool has so much queerness in it now. Let's read that. Nobody's reading this shit because nobody wants this crap. You have Charlie, Jane, Anders out there bragging about how they couldn't believe how queer the run has been so far. They're getting away with things I didn't know it was possible to get away with. Because nobody gives a shit what you're doing anymore. People have just given up on it. Is collaboration getting queerer? Olivera asked later in the panel. I find if I'm writing a script for an artist who is also queer, I don't have to do as much work, he said with a laugh. Whereas other times it's like male handsome woman, don't put the camera up her ass. What? I don't have to explain what things mean. Blas said of working with a lesbian Mexican editor, I could put things in there that are Mexican and she doesn't have to Google what they mean. There's a shorter that couple working with other queer people, and it's freeing not having to explain what these things mean. Making any freaking sense. Literally, this is not making any kind of sense. A lot of the shift has been in editorial, like having queer editors. I mean, Jesus Christ, really? This is what Wong had to say. It's been amazing. You feel so supported and it helps you trust your team more. And I think that's a really important part of building any story. You know what? An important part of building any story is that it actually be good. What you need are editors who will tell you, you're writing shit, stop doing that. But no, you're out there saying, you know what? As long as the editors are queer, the people I work with are queer, everybody's perfectly happy. Let's keep enjoying this nonsense. Finally, we have Charlie Jane Anders. Continue on. I've had really good luck with the artists I've worked with. Anders said, I don't actually know which ones are queer because I don't always ask and they don't always bring it up, and I don't want to be weird. That ship has sailed. When I wrote the story that introduced trans superhero Escapade, that was crap. I worked really closely with Ted and Rothstein, who are non-binary and asexual. Yes, because that's important. That's very important. You keep putting that out there. And they all had this input into the character, the look of the character. The characters would not be nearly as cool as they are if Ted and Ro had not made them look super queer in a way that's current and interesting. You're telling me Escapade looks super cool and interesting? What about this character looks interesting in any way? finally one wraps up and says, it's about telling the stories we want, not that we are asked to tell. So yeah, they're not going to tell a story about these characters the way that they should traditionally be told. No, screw that. We are going to tell these stories the way we want. We're going to make everybody and everything queer as much as possible. And if you don't like it, well, too bad for you, because we are going to keep doing it. So they're out here bragging about this crap. That's it. So we had Jadzia Axelrod say that, you know what, all superheroes are queer, all of them. And now we have the rest of these morons bragging about how they are just going to keep doing as much queer crap as possible, and nobody can stop them. This is where the comic book and entertainment industry are going, people. When it burns to the ground, just remember, they bragged about it long before that happened. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. I have a different opinion. I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, really hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell if I ever put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.